and welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to discuss 4 cities that will never get a major pro sports franchise. And what I mean by major pro sports franchises, I mean the big 4 leagues, NHL, NFL, MLB, or NBA. I am not counting MLS, and the simple reason is this. 1, it's still not on the same level as those 4 leagues right now in this country. And number 2, the best players in a given sport do not play in the MLS. They play in overseas leagues. However, baseball, football, basketball, the best players, generally speaking, in those given sports play in those leagues. And these are 4 cities that actually could conceivably have a major pro sports team, but never will get one for the reasons that I'm going to get into right now. Now, first we have El Paso, Texas. Now, you might be wondering, why would I have El Paso, Texas on here? It's not perceived as being a very large city by most people. However, if Juarez, which is right across the border and basically attached to El Paso, was included, this would be the 30th largest metro in the country. It would have nearly 2.4 million people. So the actual metro itself is pretty big. However, the problem is you have the border cutting right through it. This metro is actually bigger than that of Nashville, Indianapolis, or Milwaukee, all cities that have multiple major pro sports teams. Now, why is that a problem? Well, the problem is the amount of time it takes to cross the border. Say you had a team in El Paso and the fans from Mexico had to cross over the border to go to a game. The amount of time it takes to cross from Juarez to El Paso is around 45 minutes to somewhat over an hour at times. So if fans were going to a game, you have over an hour just trying to cross the border. It's not like you're crossing a toll plaza. You're going to be questioned. You're going to possibly be searched. Crossing an international border is not usually simple. I've crossed the Canadian border several times, and it's not usually that simple. It's just going right through. Even though on its face, the metro does fit well for a sports franchise, it'll just never happen because the border would just be too much of an issue. Next, we have Richmond, Virginia, which is the 44th largest metro in the United States currently at around 1.37 million people. In this case, I just think that the DC teams just take too much of the market share away. If they weren't so established and been around for so long, maybe it would work. But Richmond just isn't really big enough to begin with. It's like on the borderline. This metro is growing, but I just don't think it's an attractive option for the sports leagues to have a team there, at least not in the big 4 leagues. If any metro area in Virginia was going to get a new sports franchise, it would probably be the Virginia Beach metro area, Newport News and all that. It's got a fairly decent population, almost 1.8 million, which is significantly larger, and it's farther away from the DC metro, so the potential for competition would be lower. Next, we have Providence, Rhode Island, which is actually the 39th largest metro in the country, one of the largest to not have a major pro sports team in the big 4 leagues. The problem with this is fairly obvious. It's a New England city in New England, and it's fairly close to Boston, only about an hour or so away. The Boston sports teams pretty much have a complete grip and hold over all of New England, and I just cannot see that changing. You're just talking about generations of establishment with teams like the Red Sox and the Patriots. It would be a monumental task to try to build a new brand not that far away from Boston to begin with. And also, even though this metro has almost 1.8 million people, there's little to no new growth there. So this would not be a first choice amongst the leagues for expansion, or likely even the movement of a team, unless an owner obviously wanted it, but I still don't even think it would get approved because the competition would just be, it'd be like trying to climb a brick wall. It just would not be worth it. And finally, we have Louisville, Kentucky, which has almost 1.4 million people. This is good for 43rd in the country. Now, if this city metro was going to get a sports franchise, it probably would have already by now. I mean, Louisville is not a brand new city or a new high growth city that, wasn't that big in the past. I mean, it's been around. And it's really the only really big city in Kentucky, so this would be more of a state team. But the problem is Kentucky is not that big of a state by population to begin with. It's 26th in the country, and it's the 7th poorest state in the US. And on top of this, you have Indiana across the river, which anybody in Indiana is probably going to gravitate to the teams in Indianapolis. And if it's not like that, a lot of Northern Kentucky gravitates to the Cincinnati team, since Cincinnati is right across the river from Kentucky. So you already have a lot of establishment in the NFL and MLB with the Cincinnati teams, which would not help. And frankly, there's just too many other more attractive options in the US to have a new or moved team than Louisville. This was a city that did lose a lot of population in the past. The growth has rebounded some, but I can't see it being a preferred option for the leagues. So let me know what you think. That is the 4. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.